Welcome back to Sessions in Molecular Biology. We will be continuing with the RNA interference. In one of the previous presentation, we looked into the basic concepts of RNA interference, and we found that the RNA interference, it is mainly brought about by two different kinds of RNAs. One is the small interfering RNAs or the siRNAs, and the microRNAs or the miRNAs. So in this presentation, we'll be looking in detail how these two RNAs are produced and how they bring about the RNA interference pathways. Okay, RNA interference. Now, this is actually a general diagram which show how it is being produced and how they act upon. And in the coming slides, we'll be looking it in specific, that is the siRNA and the miRNA separately. Here you can see that both these siRNAs and the microRNAs or the miRNAs, they are produced from large double-stranded RNA molecule. So here you can see the large double-stranded molecule, the RNA molecule. It is acted upon by an enzyme protein, which is known a proteinaceous enzyme, which is known as dicer. Right, dicer. It is actually enzyme which belongs to a class that acts specifically on double-stranded RNA molecules and generate smaller double-stranded RNAs, almost of 21 to 28 base pairs in length, with 3' overhangs. Okay, in the sense that at the 3' end on both the strands of the double-stranded RNA, they do have unpaired stretches. Okay, so that is the specific about the dicers. So the dicer is a endonuclease enzyme which act specifically on double-stranded RNA, and it cleaves the double-stranded RNA to produce smaller double-stranded RNAs of 21 to 28 base pairs length. And these double-stranded RNAs do have 3' overhanging stretches. That is, at these regions, they don't have any base pairing. Okay, so these are referred as double-stranded interfering RNAs. Right, now these smaller double-stranded interfering RNAs, they complex with proteins, ribonucleoproteins. Now this complex is what is referred as a RNA-induced silencing complex. The RNA-induced silencing complex is otherwise referred as RISC. Okay, so we can call it as pre-RISC complex. Okay, the pre-RISC complex is formed of smaller double-stranded interfering RNAs complexed with proteins. Now, what happens is these what you call the pre-RISC, it contains a member of the Argonaute family of the proteins. These Argonaute family of proteins, they do have they can actually bring about the unwinding of the double-stranded interfering RNA and bring about the breakage of the bonds and release of one of the strands. Okay, so only one of the strands remain complexed with the protein, and this strand which remains over here, it is known as the guide strand. And the guide strand complexed with this protein, it forms what is known as a RISC or RNA induced silencing complex. Here you can see the complex, it is associated with a single stranded interfering RNA. Okay, now this complex, it actually initiates the RNA interference. How does it do? Okay, so here you can see the mRNA. Okay, this mRNA is the one which contains the target sequence. Okay, so maybe like over here, this is the sequence which has to be blocked, the translation of which has to be blocked. Okay, so just imagine this is the target sequence on this particular mRNA, which has to be specifically blocked with respect to the translation process. So this RISC, it actually targets the specific sequence on the mRNA, and this sequence will have the base sequence complementary to the sequence present on this single-stranded interfering RNA. So the single-stranded interfering RNA can specifically bind to the complementary sequence on the mRNA. Right. So here you can see this is how it is being base paired. It is very specific, but this base pairing, it can be of two kinds. One in which the base pairing is very perfect, that is the sequence on the small interfering single-stranded interfering RNA as well as the mRNA, it is just the exactly complementary, and hence the base pairing is very perfect. And in such a situation, what happens is the Argonaute family, it can bring about the protein, it can bring about the cleavage, and the mRNA is cleaved and it gets degraded. But on the other hand, there is a situation where the sequence on the single-stranded interfering RNA may not be exactly complementary to the sequence on the mRNA. So here the base pairing in it may not be perfect, it may be imperfect, we can say. Okay, you can see over here there is a folding, and this folding, it contains a sequence which is not complementary to the sequence on the mRNA. So what happens is, in such a case, usually in most cases what happens is, this kind of a situation, it will lead to repression of the translation of the mRNA. Instead of the cleavage and degradation, this particular complex, it represents the translation process. Obviously later the mRNA, it gets cleaved and degraded, but the first step is repression of the translation. This is just a general outline of how the siRNA and miRNA, it brings about the RNA interference. Okay, we can look into in detail how it does. Now siRNA, they are formed of short double-stranded RNA molecules, which maybe like of 21 to 23 base pair long, and with the overhanging at 3' ends. Okay, overhangs at 3' ends, usually of 2 base pairs length. Okay, they are highly specific for the nucleotide sequence on the target mRNA. We can see that these small interfering RNAs, they are smaller stretches of double-stranded RNA, and usually they are produced by the action of dicer on a larger double-stranded RNA, as we have already mentioned in the general outline. Okay, these smaller double-stranded RNAs, it gets loaded onto the protein complex, which is referred as a pre-risk, right? And the pre-risk, the complex, it contains what you call protein, a member of the protein family, Argonaute. Okay, these Argonaute family, or the Argonaute proteins, play a very important role in the RNA interference or the RNA silencing pathways. And in this RNA interference, what happens is, one of the strands of the double-stranded RNA, that is, we have already seen, one of the strands of the double-stranded RNA, it gets cleaved, and it gets separated from the other strand. The strand which gets separated, it gets cleaved, and it is being broken down by the from the pre-risk. The strand which remains with the complex, it is known as a guide strand. It remains incorporated together with the Argonaute member, and it forms what is known as the risk, or the RNA induced silencing complex. Okay, now the risk, it provides the machinery for the single stranded interfering RNA, or the siRNA, to bind to the mRNA. Okay, the target sequence on the mRNA, and usually this target mRNA will have a complementary sequence, complementary to the sequence on the guide RNA, right? We can see that once it is bound, once the risk is bound to the target mRNA, the target RNA, it gets cleaved at specific sites. Okay, we can see over here, right? It is bound, right, and it gets cleaved at specific sites. You can see these two are the sites where the RNA, the target RNA, is getting cleaved. And this cleavage, it is brought about by the ribonuclease activity of the Argonaute member of the risk complex. Okay, so that's the siRNA. It acts like a guide to direct the complex, the risk complex, toward the complementary sequence on the target RNA, and later the target RNA is destroyed by the protein component, or the Argonaute member of the risk complex. I hope it is clear. Okay, so the RNA silencing actually brought about by the siRNA is, this is how it works. So you can see this is the siRNA, and you can see how the dicer and the risk complex, Argonaute family proteins of the risk, all do play very important role in bringing about the RNA interference. Okay, coming to the next one we have is the microRNA, or the miRNA. They are small endogenous regulatory RNA molecules, usually of 21 to 24 nucleotides in length, involved in post-transcriptional gene silencing, just like the small interfering RNAs. The microRNAs are also processed from longer primary mRNA transcripts we can see that the microRNAs, they function as antisense regulators of other genes. So here you can see that the microRNAs, they are found in both plants as well as animals, and as already mentioned, they usually may be of 21 to 24 nucleotides in length, and these I mean when you compare the size of the microRNA and siRNA, it is almost the same, we can see. The what is the difference then? How it is different? One is the siRNA, it is derived from the double-stranded RNA, which is introduced by a virus. Okay, so an siRNA, it is derived from the double-stranded nucleic acid of or RNA of a virus or a transposable element, and it usually targets the same transcript, mRNA transcript, from which it arose. Okay, while in the case of microRNA, the microRNA, it is encoded by a gene segment. That is, microRNA do have a gene segment in the DNA. Okay, and this gene segment, when it expresses, when it undergoes transcription, it produces the what you call the microRNA. Okay, and that is the if you see it in another way, we can say that the siRNA, they serve primarily to maintain the integrity of the genome, while the microRNA, they primarily play an important role in regulating the gene expression. Now, how this whole thing happens? The most of the microRNAs, they are synthesized by RNA polymerase 2 as a primary transcript, just like any other mRNA being produced, messenger RNA is being produced during transcription, just like that, the primary microRNA transcript is produced. Okay, and these primary microRNA transcript is just like any other messenger RNA, having a 5' capping and a tailing, poly A tailing. Okay, this primary transcript, it folds back on itself because of the complementary sequences at various places. These the primary microRNA transcript, it folds on itself. Okay, and it folds back on itself to form, you can see, a long double-stranded hairpin shaped RNA. Okay, and this RNA, it is referred as a primary microRNA. This one is primary microRNA transcript over here. So this is primary microRNA. Okay, now you can see it is microRNA. Okay, now this one, it gets cleaved by, you can see here, by an enzyme, and this enzyme is referred as a DROSHA. So the DROSHA is an enzyme which cleaves the primary microRNA. All these happens inside the nucleus. You can see it is still in the nucleus. So DROSHA, it cleaves the primary microRNA when it is still inside the nucleus. Okay, and it is cleaved into shorter double-stranded hairpin shaped microRNA precursor. Okay, so you can see here, only this part is being left over. DROSHA, it cleaves in the primary microRNA transcript in such a way that only a hairpin shaped double-stranded structure is left over, and this structure is known as a microRNA precursor or pre-microRNA. Okay, now in this form, it gets exported to the cytoplasm. So the pre-microRNA, it gets transported to the cytoplasm, and here you can see it gets acted upon by the dicer, which is a ribonuclease enzyme. As we the same thing happens with the siRNA, and here the dicer, it is a ribonuclease enzyme found in the cytoplasm. It acts upon the precursor microRNA, and it results in the formation of a small double-stranded microRNA. Later, this microRNA, it gets acted upon by the what you call this one, and a small ribonuclease, you can see here. Okay, ribonuclease activity, it brings about the formation of single-stranded microRNAs. Okay, one of the strands of the produced as a result of this activity, it will complex with the argonaute containing protein. Okay, and it forms a RISC, and it is this RISC which binds to the target mRNA. So a typical microRNA in animal cells, it is partially complementary to the region in the 3' untranslated region of the mRNA target. Okay, so it is not exactly complementary, only partially complementary. So what happens is base pairing involves 6 or 7 nucleotides near the 5' end of the microRNA, as well as a few additional base pairs